Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another live episode of the Orange Report with Kira Davis, coming to you with all the news and views you can use from around California and Orange County and America, because California news is America news today. But we're talking about the bombshell today. We are talking about the bombshell news yesterday coming out about 11 indictments dropped on the Southern Poverty Law Center. FBI is indicting, DOJ is prosecuting. I just literally, like, just this second got off the podcast with Jenny Beth Martin of Tea Party Patriots, and we were talking about it over there. If you watch her show, you can go over there and watch the replay. You can find it on YouTube, I think. So we were talking a little bit about it over there, but this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Let's see what's happening here. My internet's out. Are you seeing this, Scott, come through? Okay, good. Anyway, let me put my glasses on for this. We've got a lot to I've got a lot to say about this. Why don't I start by encouraging you to subscribe everywhere. Subscribe to Kira Davis here on X. We stream live to X Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're Dark Thursday, and then we do a wrap-up show. It's a little more formal for a local crowd on Friday nights. And you can find all of that everywhere on Facebook, on X, the Orange Report OC, everywhere. And you can send me tips there for local stories. I love getting tips on local stories here in Orange County, so send me some tips there. Okay, I'm pissed. I'm really pissed. I told this to Jenny Beth. This is not a secret. Those of us on the right, you know what? Why don't I break down the story in case future people or future Kira is watching this and we didn't really know what was going on, or we don't remember what's going on. Let's bring up number 2, Scott. And I'll just read this really quick, so we'll break down what's going on in case you're watching in the future. The Southern Poverty Law Center, I'm reading on X from Technofog. By the way, you know what? You might be interested to know the payment structure on X is about to change again. It's aimed at de-incentivizing the aggregator, so people who sort of take your work and repost it as their own and make like tons and tons of money off it. So we'll see if you are an influencer who makes money on X, it'll be interesting to see how the payment system changes. I make a little money. But people do the same to me because I do original stuff. People will take your stuff and just repackage it, put a comment on it, and then it goes viral for their stuff. And so I'll be interested to see if it changes my structure at all. But I don't make a living over here. I'm more interested to see what it does to the people who make a living off of it. Let me know. Hit me up if you see changes. Okay, Technofog says the Southern Poverty Law Center has been indicted 11 counts of wire fraud and false statements. SPLC funneled over $3 million to persons in extremist groups, including the KKK and the American Nazi Party. The extremists the SPLC investigated were on the SPLC payroll. And then he copies some pages from the indictment. Here's page 1, indictment 9. Between at least 2014 and 2023, the SPLC paid their Fs, I guess that's the term for whatever, their informants or people, in a clandestine manner. Doing so hid the fact that while SPLC received donation money under the auspices that the funds would be used to dismantle violent extremist groups, this donation money was instead being used in part by the SPLC to pay leaders and others within these same violent extremist groups. SPLC secretly funded more than $3 million in funds to Fs who were associated with various violent extremist groups. F9 was affiliated with the neo-Nazi organization, the National Alliance, and served as an F for SPLC for more than 20 years. 20 years. Between 2014 and 2023, the SPLC secretly paid F9 more than $1 million. So 20 years is 2016. That's going into Bush, but that's really, ginning up in the heyday of the Obama administration when SPLC really became weaponized. Between 2014 and 2016, the SPLC secretly paid F30 more than $70,000. This overlapped the time period in which F30 was featured on the SPLC's extremist file website. So a person that was listed as the leader of a hate movement, SPLC paid $70,000 to. $70,000. And here we go. F unknown was a member of the Ku Klux Klan and married to an exalted cyclops. That's a leader, an exalted cyclops of the Ku Klux Klan. F unknown and their spouse were involved in litigation whereby the Ku Klux Klan applied to take part in the Adopt a Highway program. During the course of the litigation, known payments were traced from the SPLC to F unknown, which exceeded $3,500. So that's the rundown of the big scandal that dropped yesterday. Southern Poverty Law Center has been pitched to Americans for 50 years, 60 more, as a civil rights organization. Now, traditionally, they took up racial equality cases. Really, they were a protection for Black Americans during Jim Crow era, or post Jim Crow era, I should say, and sort of protected racial discrimination cases across the country, redlining cases, employment, hiring cases, things like that, school racism in school, think church bombings, all that kind of stuff that really was prevalent back in the day. And I was just on Jenny Beth Martin's show, the Tea Party Patriots podcast, and she pointed out something interesting that I hadn't thought of as well. Southern Poverty Law Center is listed in almost all of our public school textbooks as a civil rights organization. Our kids learn this. Our kids learn that they are the defender of civil rights. This is actually a big, big deal. Now, people like me have always known that they're on the take, that they're not on the up and up. Since the Obama administration, he weaponized SPLC, or he encouraged SPLC to weaponize itself, I will say. And they were weaponized themselves against Black people like me. So before they were defending Black rights, and then they were coming to prosecute people like me, moms who were getting into the school board race, moms who were speaking up against CRT and DEI in our public school system, and then, of course, the trans agenda, all of that. So this is how bad it is. You know, SPLC has been sold to mainstream America as an important civil rights organization, and we have deified the civil rights movement in this country. Not civil rights, but we have deified the civil rights movement. It's become its own monster. 90% of the Democrat caucus is there because they ran on a civil rights issue. And they ran on the idea of being the only people who cared about civil rights, especially the civil rights of Black people, and the only people who would protect the civil rights of Black people. And SPLC probably has donated to every last one of those candidates. I'd have to go check that. This is alleged, but I feel confident that if we were to check that out, that we're going to see, and I'm sure the FBI is already on it. We're going to see copious amounts of cooperation between the Democrat caucus in Congress and the SPLC. Jenny Beth asked me today, I was asked, what was your first thought when you saw the news drop about this? And I will tell you that my first thought, the first thing I thought about was my mother. Because I'm one of those people who's the victim of this weird, like, no contact thing that's going on in the culture. I know it mostly is framed as kids leaving their parents, but in my situation, it was the opposite. You know, she just sent a note, a casual note along one day to my husband, not even to me, just to say, you know, I can't show up for you guys as long as Trump is the president. He's a bad orange man, yada yada. I don't need to fill all this in for you. And I don't want to rehash it. All that's to say that, like, that's a huge family schism, right? That's a big deal for a parent to disconnect from their children and grandchildren over this kind of stuff, over the lies told about this kind of stuff. She believes these lies about President Trump, including that he supported Nazis in Charlottesville in 2017. Turns out SPLC paid those people. SPLC paid for, I'll get to it. I need to finish this point. I'm not the only person who has experienced family disconnection and family betrayal because of this issue. What SPLC did, split families, split American families, caused people to dump their longtime friends, caused people to call their friends and family members the most horrible things and frame them as the most horrible things possible that you could think of in Western culture. It is responsible for a divide that may never be repaired in this country. It is responsible for a cold civil war. It is responsible for bringing us to the brink of a kinetic civil war. I think President Biden won on this nonsense. It is responsible for 4 years of misery and hell under the Biden administration. It's responsible for the degradation of trust and familial bonds in the United States. This isn't just corruption. It's not just money laundering. It's not just betrayal, although it very deeply is betrayal. This is treason. This is sedition. This is something that almost brought our whole country down. And the reason why SPLC, why they started doing good work, and then sometime in the Obama administration switched to this treasonous work, the reason why is because it's why I tell you the grievance industry in the United States is evil and corrupt and has to go. It's why I, as a Black American, have been telling you for years, for 20 years now, leave the party, leave the Democrat Party. They're making our grievances worse, not better. And here is the proof. Why did they switch gears? Why did they suddenly go from trying to defeat racism to paying to make racism? Because they defeated racism. Because we did it. If you can go on Instagram or TikTok right now, you can see a whole host of Black influencers, Gen X influencers going, you know what? I don't remember this kind of trouble with race when I was a kid. We had racism, but seems like I used to play with the white kids. We all used to play on the same teams. It seems like it wasn't that big of a deal. Yeah, we fixed it. But on the left, we fixed it for as much as it can be fixed. On the left, though, a problem can never go away because people make money off your problems on the left. They don't make money solving your problems, and they don't care enough about you to want to solve your problems. They don't care enough about you for the victory of solving your problems to matter to them. I did a whole rant on this yesterday, how Democrats hate you. They hate you. They don't want to solve your problems. They want to make money off your problems. So what happens when they actually, by accident, solve your problems? They pay to make more problems. That's evil, my friends. That's not just corruption. That's not just financial corruption. That's not just typical political corruption. That's evil. That's an entity in our nation that declares itself a defender of civil rights, a defender of your rights. That's an entity like that working to take down America, to break up America, to divide America, because united we stand and divided we fall. So if there is an organization who is actively working, paying to divide America, that's treasonous. That's war. Families have broken up. Mothers have left their children. Children have left their parents. Longtime best friends have disappeared on each other. We're in a loneliness epidemic after COVID. Are you starting to see all this is on purpose? Now people are disconnected from their family structure, disconnected from their friends over lies. Over lies. I don't just want to see people go to jail. I do want that, but I do think that this rises to the level of treason. I have been saying it, and I'm not kidding. We need to bring back public executions. This can never happen again. This can never. I mean, it's still happening in places, but we have to do what we have to do to make sure it never happens again. You cannot be casual about this. You can't look at this as just a regular, just another story. Oh, okay, here's Trump digging up some corruption, and thank God we got over that. No, this is the whole reason we're in this mess, and we're not out yet because we still have November. Virginia has redistricted last night. I'm holding out hope that that's still going to fail in the courts because it's absolutely absurd to go from a 6-4 split to a 10-1 representation split. Of course, that's ridiculous. That's treason too. That's ridiculous. But I think there's still more room, legally speaking, to fix that. But even if it stands, we fix it with the SAVE Act, right? We fix all this corruption with all of this is boiling down to our voting system, folks. We have to pass the SAVE Act. Ask yourself why John Thune won't do it, why he won't bring it to the floor, why he won't bust the filibuster. The Democrats are already going to bust the filibuster. They've already said they're going to do it. What are we waiting for? John Thune is compromised, in my opinion. He's deeply compromised. And the only thing that's going to convince him to bring this and nuke the filibuster is for you to call and you to reassure him that whatever power he's clinging to will dissipate if he doesn't pass this, because we're not going to give him the public power anymore. And he can hold on to that job, but he's not going to hold on to it forever. And you only wield power at the expense of the people. And if the people don't like you, you need people to have power over. And we're not going to be here for you to have power over if you do not do this. So if you want to secure your selfish power for the future, you'd better pass this today. John Thune, in my mind, is compromised, and I hope the president finds something on him. I hope the president has something in his back pocket on John Thune, because this is traitorous too. We passed the SAVE Act. We don't need to worry about that stupid Virginia redistricting. And frankly, if we redo the census, which we really should do, I am in favor of a midterm census. I know we're only supposed to do it every 10 years, but they cheated. It wasn't real. We need to redo it. Why do you think they're fighting so hard? They still have the government shutdown. Did you realize that? I know, yeah. Partial government shutdown. And Schumer's talking about a real government shutdown. Again, why would they do? They're fighting tooth and they're going to take this whole country down in order to make sure you don't have to show ID to vote. You need to ask yourself why they're going to the mat for this. For this. It's because this is the one thing keeping them in power. Follow the money, follow the motivation, follow the interest, follow the lobbyists. This voter ID, this is the key to their downfall, and they know it. So to my mind, it is the most important thing going on in this country. Virginia, that's secondary. It's bad, but it's secondary. SPLC, it's bad, but it's secondary. We won't fix that if we don't fix this. We need voter ID. We need a national voter ID law. Everybody knows it. The Democrats know it. That's why they're fighting so hard against it. And that's why the Biden administration used the SPLC. Biden ran on this. He ran on this Charlottesville. Think about how many people still believe that. The Charlottesville, very fine people on both sides lie. People still believe it. Even though it was completely doctored. Those words weren't doctored. He said that, but in a completely different section of his speech that had nothing to do with the fake Nazis who showed up. Now we know we knew, because we know what that stuff looks like. If you came through the Tea Party movement, you know that's what we had to deal with in the Tea Party movement. The left was sending fake Nazis to our rallies and then covering them on the news as if we were Nazis. And that's a narrative that still stands in many people's minds today. And that's why the narrative is conservatives are Nazis. This is seditious. This is, I mean, you can correct me. You can tell me all of your corrections for what the difference between sedition, and treason is. I don't care. It's a legal betrayal and it should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. And we do have capital punishment at the federal level, and we don't use it enough. We don't use it enough. I don't think we use it at all these days. This is when you are actively working to divide the American people against itself. It can't be allowed to stand. Like, people's lives have been someone lost their life at that Charlottesville rally. Someone lost their life. People have died over this. Like, that's the realm we're in now. So this is not just a scandal. This strikes at the very heart of what Democrats have been trying to do to America and what they are still trying to do. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not have the luxury of bandying about the details about, Trump is good on this, but maybe not so good on that. We do not have time to bandy about the idea of punishing Republicans in the midterms for not working fast enough on X, Y, and Z. If we don't win the midterms, we're going down. It's just that simple. This is war. We're at war. And right now, it's a cold war. We don't want it to get hot. If Democrats take control again, it will, because they have already said it. It's not a secret. And they're willing to go to these lengths. They're willing to go to the lengths of paying to create racism and to create violence in order to win elections and in order to pretend they're solving the problem. And this is why the grievance industry has to go. All of those, we can no longer, the government and NGOs have to go. They have to go. There's no way to make sure that these things remain on the up and up. And I say this as someone who has a nonprofit and who has worked in the nonprofit industry. That's what made me a conservative, is working in nonprofit. NGOs have to go. The government should not be funding charity organizations. You should be responsible for raising that money on your own. And the government can give us tax breaks. How about that? Or simply the tax-free status. I think that's a problem too, actually. And I know churches don't want to hear that, but I think it's a problem. I do. In fact, I think the only thing that should be tax-free are Christian churches. It should be tax-free because Christianity is the bedrock of Western culture. It behooves us to support that. And Christian churches do the bulk. Still to this day, everybody, don't believe the lies in the mainstream media. Christian churches do the bulk of charity and care work in this country. Let's pull up number 4. Let's pull up Andrew's graphic, Andrew Colvett from TPUSA. And Andrew Colvett says SPLC revenue before Charlottesville. Okay, that's a 2017 rally that gave us that very fine people on both sides lie. And just to clear that up, again, Trump did say there were very fine people on both sides, but he said that they clipped it up to make it look like he said that about the weirdo Nazis. He said that about the people who had showed. He was talking about a different rally at a different part of the day when people who were showing up to protest the removal of statues. By the way, remember that? All those statues we had to remove? Bring them back, right? So that's what that was, and the mainstream media ran with that lie, and Kamala ran and won on that lie, and Joe Biden ran and won on that lie. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we need to redo the 2020 election too. It was a completely false election from top to bottom. Not only was there cheating, but the whole premise of it was a cheat too. I think it needs to be redone. All right, here's what Andrew has to say. SPLC revenue before Charlottesville, $51,871,438. That's a lot. SPLC revenue after Charlottesville, $3,466,000 $463,398. The SPLC paid $270,000 to a Unite the Right rally leader, the hate grift in one single graphic. There it is. In October, it was over twice that, 2.5 times by a year later, 2.5 times, an increase of $81 million they got on that. And a grift was born. If you ever want to know why California can't solve its homeless crisis, it's because of that. The millions and billions of dollars that we give to the homeless industrial complex here in California, it doesn't go to creating more homes for the homeless. It doesn't go to solving homelessness. It goes into creating more homelessness. So it goes into things, excuse me. So it goes into things like needle exchanges, which only create or increase drug trafficking, drug addicts, and crime in the streets. It goes to increasing food handout programs on the street or healthcare on the streets. In San Francisco and Los Angeles, it goes to giving those people more booze and more drugs. You can pay, the state pays for some of these people to have actual, like crack, not just methadone, which is a drug too. The state pays for people to have alcohol so they don't experience withdrawal. Like, it pays to create the problem, and we're just pouring more and more of our own money into it. You're not angry enough. The polling is reflective of that. You're not angry enough. And I don't want to hear you complain about how, well, the news doesn't poke through to the mainstream. And so the low info voter out there doesn't get the news. You post it then. You post it to your Facebook. You post it to your Instagram. You post it to your TikTok. Don't give me the, oh, my family doesn't like it and people get mean. So I stopped doing that for a little while on my Facebook because I did just want to keep it kosher for family. And then when my mom broke up with our entire family, I was like, well, what did that gain me? It did me no good to say I'm never going to talk about politics with my mom, which I never did. It didn't do any good. She hated us anyway, So these people are going to hate anyway, but they need to hear the truth. And I had a liberal friend of mine come to one of my threads the other day. She was not being nice, by the way. She was being sarcastic because from her point of view, she went and looked up. I posted a story, and then she went and looked up the real story, which she just went and got a liberal source for it and proved my point wrong. And what she said sarcastically was, you know what, Kira, I really love it when you post these things because it tells me what I need to go get the truth on. And you know what? She thought that she was being funny and she thought that she was getting one over on me. But my reaction was like, fan flippin' tastic. Thank you, because you saw a story you didn't see before, is my point. You didn't even know this story existed. And so you had to read mine and then go look up your competing information to prove me wrong, which to my mind is just as much of a victory as you coming over to my side. I just need you to see it. And you haven't even seen it. So it makes a difference if you post things, if you say things. I was saying this to my husband recently, who's a really nice guy, and he's in sales. And so the sales is like, if you're in sales, you don't talk religion, you don't talk politics. Fine, but even on his personal page, I was telling him recently, I was like, you know what? It counts when men like you pop in to some of the threads I post and just let people know you see this too and it concerns you too. Because sometimes the nice guy can come away looking like he doesn't care about these things. And then all of our liberal friends go, well, this is just crazy Kira, right? Mark doesn't think that because he's normal and reasonable. He is normal and reasonable, by the way. He is. He's of the two of us, he's that. You can't have two Kiras in one marriage. It just won't work. But especially when I post stuff about girls, we have a daughter, and the stuff about trans athletes or trans identified men hurting young ladies or making them feel uncomfortable in their bathroom, stuff like that. When our liberal friends and family come to these threads and argue them, I tell my husband it makes a difference if you just pop in and say one word. Just say, no, I don't support this. Or as a father of a daughter, I find this to be disturbing. It makes a difference because it makes the people who trust you think twice. It does. So I want to encourage you. I know it's just social media and I know it's stupid, but a lot of it's the public square and a lot of conversations happen there. And for better or for worse, it's time to be brave and take the risks. Like if you see something, say something. And you don't have to be rude about it either. You can just, you know what? Yeah, a great thing you can do is, and I think it's perfectly legitimate because listen, you don't owe anyone any explanation for how you choose to engage on any topic. Go in, drop a bomb, hit mute so you don't even have to hear the responses and take off. Got a comment here. Let's see. The cat thinks, hey, you don't talk politics or religion at work. Right here, you can say what you want within reason, right? Except you do now. And I think actually the solution, and I don't like that either, by the way. I don't think you should talk religion and politics at work unless, you're with friends or whatever. At work, you're working. Talk work stuff or general stuff because you have to have a cohesion at work. But it's not like that anymore, is it? Because the era of HR has turned that on its head. So now everybody else is talking about their politics and their religion at work. But you, the good American, the Christian American, the conservative American, who plays by the rules is going, well, no, you don't talk about that stuff at work. So I'll just keep my mouth shut. I say no. If someone else, now you don't have to lead it. That's fair. But if someone else is talking about it at work, why don't you try a little experiment and push back gently? The next time Crazy Karen stands up at her cubicle and starts talking to you about, I don't know, how voter ID is racist, you tell her, no, it's not. And I don't believe that. And you shouldn't be talking about this at work. Why don't you put it that way? I think you're wrong because people like that are emboldened by your silence because we don't talk religion and politics at work. I think that time is over. I would like to get back to that time, by the way. I really would. I think the way you get back to it is by making them uncomfortable to bring that stuff up. We're perfectly fine with the silence on that kind of stuff at work. Like leave home at home. It's the left that has a problem with it. We just keep being fine with these rules that they impose on us. And then they break the rules and we keep following the rules. The rules are set up against you. The rules are set up to disadvantage good and kind and honest people. So you don't have to follow the rules if the rules disadvantage the truth. You don't have to follow the rules if the rules make you a criminal. And all you're asking for is liberty. Speak up. It is time to speak up. It is time to be bold. It is time to be unafraid. Like I said, on my personal, I know what I do for a job. Everyone knows what I do for a living. But on my personal threads, for a long time, I just kept it even or didn't engage at all. A lot of people will say, I never see you on Facebook anymore. Yeah, because I just got tired of seeing all my liberal friends and family posted the most ridiculous BS, the worst lies. They could say whatever they wanted. And, and then it was just a vicious personal attack as soon as I would weigh in with alternate information. And so in interest of repairing those relationships, I just didn't. And what did it get me? My own mom said goodbye to us. So what do you know what I mean? Like, what did it get me? What does it get you? Chatter returns. Most of the people I work with are extremely liberal. I'm to the right of Genghis Khan. God bless you. And I feel like when you work in a liberal environment like that, it pushes you even harder to the right. Like it makes you, I always said this about my son. Shout out to Scott, who's producing the show today. I always say about my son, we sent him off to college, a liberal college, like they all are these days. And I'm always nervous about the type of kids I get back. And, he's still Gen Z, so he's not like to the right of Genghis Khan like me and you. But I would always be paying close attention to what he was thinking and saying when he would come home and we would have talks and I would see, what do I have to deprogram? And I tell you what, came home more and more conservative, further and further to the right every time he got home because it was just that crazy. And this was a kid who was primed to go and he's creative, primed to go and hear and absorb all that messages and respond to them. He has this very creative mind. And then being his generation. But it was too much even for him. And I've always just encouraged my kids to be curious. I know my kids thinking exactly like I think on politics are pretty low, but I've always encouraged them to just be curious, because I believe that the truth will lead you to the right conclusion, even if it doesn't look or sound exactly like mine. Just be curious. But and I still believe in that. I don't encourage people to just become a right winger like me. Just be curious. That's all I'm asking for. Kat says, my liberal coworkers can't help but inject politics into everything. Yes, and good for my son. He can see through that BS. Yes. Scott Flava says, hey, Kira, looking nice today. Thank you. Thank you so much. Taking a chance on white. I do not wear white very much. My husband bought me this shirt for Christmas, and sidebar, I am a slob. I'm a messy person. I eat messy. I talk messy. Like, you probably see spit flying out of my mouth when I talk. I just I thank you for saying I look put together, but like if there is something to spill, I will spill it on myself in 0 seconds flat. So white has been banned from my home for so long. But when I'm feeling a little saucy lately? I'm feeling like in the golden age, things are looking up. I know we're not talking about things looking up today, but things are looking up. And so I just feel like, hey, maybe the golden era is a time for Kira to wear white. So I really appreciate that vote of confidence. And we'll see how it lasts. I'm going to wear this tonight. I'm going to be on News Nation with Katie Pavlich tonight. We're going to be breaking down the debate and some other things as well. California governor's debate is on tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific. Everybody watch this. This is the first time we're going to see Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton on stage in a debate format. They've had a discussion format. And so the Republicans will see them on stage together. And then we'll see the other Democrat losers. And guys, even if you're not in California, you should find it out a way to tune into this debate because I think the most fun we're going to have is watching the Democrats flail and flounder and hem and haw and try to come up with a coherent platform and message that doesn't refer to the disaster of their own party. Like they have nothing to stand on. They've been running things for 16 years in the state exclusively, and they have no one to blame and they have no alternative solutions, right? Everybody is looking at them going, but that's what you guys did last time. And here we are. So it's actually the one debate that they had, Steve, it was so fun to watch Steve. Just every question they got was this sort of like, well, my predecessor didn't do it, but I think we could lower the house of costing the, the cost of housing, excuse me. I've just got foggy brain these days. The cost of housing. And then all Steve had to do, like every answer was like, no, I'm going to do it totally different. What are they talking about? So it was kind of funny. Um, so yeah, we'll see how that goes tonight. Anyway, let's get back to SPLC. Thank you for the compliments out there. My kids, my kids, again, they're different generations, Alpha and Z. I got a very young Z, borderline Alpha. Yeah, they're not us. I get that. They've grown up in a different world, but I get a lot of messages and questions from parents asking, how do you make sure your kid grows up conservative? I don't know the answer to that. And they've still got growing up to do. Like, it's not like their opinions are fixed in stone. They might change. They might have a change of heart. I really feel strongly you can't change that for your children. My advice always is just instill curiosity. Just ask for curiosity. That's it. And have the conversations. Okay, if you get heated about it, that's fine. I get heated. My kids know that. But make space for them to be curious. Make space for them to ask questions. And always, 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 always emphasize that you guys are family and there is no opinion they can hold that will drive them away from you. that they are always your priority, and what they think about politics will never supersede your care for them or about them. I think that is the most important thing, and then relax. Like, try to relax about it. I'm lucky because I have an outlet. So, if my kids' opinions tick me off or my husband's opinion ticks me off, I can come yell at you for a little while. So I have that outlet, but just try to relax. I also cling to the verse. I think it's very important. Proverbs, train up a child in the way he should go. And when is older, he will not depart from it. I truly believe that. We had the honor of baptizing my son last summer in the Pacific Ocean. And to me, that was the fulfillment of that promise. So I want to share that promise with you. Um, the only Democrat platform today is I hate Trump. Next Democrat. Well, I really hate Trump. It's like it's like a Monty Python sketch. Yeah, it is. They're so true. Okay, here's what I want us to think about what a deep, deep schism this has created. Let's quickly play number 5. Scott, we're gonna go to Kamala. Kamala Harris. Guys, is she going to run again? Could we be so lucky? Could we be so lucky as to get a second Kamala Harris run? It'd just be good for the clips. She wouldn't dare make it past. Everybody hates her. Everybody. I feel that way about Gavin.
Say
okay.
There were
sorry
fine
about that.
people on each side.
Go ahead. Sorry, Scott. I'll stop.
Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember Charlottesville.
The fight that lie follows him to this day. Furthermore, that lie has been the motivating factor for the dissolution of some of the most important relationships in this country, between parents and children, between brothers and sisters, neighbors and best friends. That lie completely destroyed this country. You're not mad enough. You're not angry. That's civil war, my friends. That's war. Yeah, I do want, I want public executions. I do. I'm being so serious because this does rise to the level of treason. And at what point do we draw a line and say, you are an American if you're under this line? Yeah, you're still an American. We're going to punish you. But if you're over this line, you have no place in this country. Furthermore, this idea has no place in this country. Why don't we execute people anymore? There are people who deserve to be executed, for sure. I used to be anti-death penalty until I became a mom. And then when you start talking about pedophiles and child rapists, that kind of stuff, yeah, you get why we have a death penalty. So I really think, Scott Flavor, you think she's going to run? Because really, what you think Kamala's going to run? Because what else does she have to do? Like, what really? What I saw this during Hunter Biden. Do you remember Hunter Biden was out few months ago and he was doing a series of interviews like, why everybody hates you, you seem like a real loser, and you just fly off the handle at the weirdest moments. Why are you out there doing interviews? And I saw one interview, I think he was on the Sean Ryan show, and he was selling a book. That was one of the things. He wrote a book. Did you run out there to get that Hunter Biden book? He wrote a book, and he said, Sean Ryan said something about I don't know, paying for a lawyer or something, and Hunter very candidly said, yeah, why do you think I'm out here pushing this book? Like, I don't have any source of income. The racket is the income for these people. If you think about that, you're going to understand why they fight so hard, why they will fight, why they will fight to the death, to your death, to protect all this, because this is literally their only source of income. The Bidens have no other income except corruption. Politics is their only income. They were depending on Joe to leave a legacy, and then they were going to ride that legacy out. And now his legacy has destroyed them. And he has no power, right? He can't make any deals. He can't broker anything. He has almost no influence left. Who do they call to twist arms or to, do favors for? They're broke. They are absolutely broke. The grift is all they have. And that's Kamala Harris, too. She failed and other things her way up the ladder here in California. She doesn't have any real skills. She is not intelligent. I have never heard a single sentence out of Kamala Harris's mouth that makes sense. And I mean that. I'm not being dramatic. I mean that. And I'm Californian, okay? So you guys only had 4 years of her. I've had 16 of this woman. She's been our AG. She's been a senator. She's been a pain in the ass all up and down this state forever. Everybody hates her here. So I've had to deal with her and I have never, ever once. There's something to be said about that cliche about women sleeping their way to the top. That's a tool you can use. And I did a whole episode actually on my old podcast, Just Listen to Yourself, because there's a sports broadcaster who basically did that, and she's super famous now. And I did, and I asked the question: is that a bad thing? Actually, we posited it out. We reasoned it out, and we saw is it? I didn't make a conclusion, but I said I think it's a legitimate tool for women because it's one thing that would I use it? No, it's gross. Don't do it, ladies. I'm not saying use it. I'm just saying women don't have the same types of tools that men do to get to the top. So women like Kamala Harris know exactly what they're doing. That whole idea of them they're just smart and accomplished. No, it's a lie. Kamala slept her way to the top, and that's documented, and everyone in this state knows it. It's not even an open secret. It's just open. Thing says, may I ask a question? Please go ahead. Ask a question. While I talk a little bit more about, how all of this has been set up to give you a false impression of the division of this country. We actually, I was wondering the other day, I made a comment. I love bees. I'm into bees. I want to be a beekeeper someday. And as I've been learning more about bees, you've probably heard a lot about the bee crisis in this country, but the North American bee has actually been saved. We did have a bee crisis. But then what happened is so many beekeeper hobbyists popped up across North America, and people answered the call to put more flowers in their fields and their gardens, that the bee population actually picked up, and we dropped out of the crisis. And so I posted that to my Facebook one day, and a friend who's an environmentalist said, oh, well, that may be true, but the bee population in this state is collapsing, and people need to tear out their sidewalks and I was like, you know what? Are we ever allowed to enjoy a victory? Are we ever allowed to say, hey, we did it? Think about that in the grievance industry. There's no end to it. There's no finish to it. We have solved the problem and we're shutting our doors because we've been so successful. Where do you see that? We're never allowed to just say we won. We did it. We fixed this problem. That's because it's connected to people's income. And if people don't have a real God, they'll make their own God. And many people in this country have made money their God, and they'll die for that God. They'll sacrifice anything for that God. What'd you have to say, Kat? What was your question? What are your thoughts on the Leering Center? We need more Leering Centers across America. Our kids aren't leering nearly enough. The Leering Center, I think Babylon Bee had a great headline yesterday. It was the Leering Center, the accounting center. I can barely say it wrong. But that isn't what we're talking about today, though, Kat. SPLC, the very fine people lie. This civil rights group funding racism, funding the KKK. Isn't that what we're talking about? They're all just Leering Centers. The entire Democrat complex is just one big Leering Center. It's completely fake from top to bottom. And I think the reason why we're having so much trouble getting this SAVE Act passed, getting voter ID, is because a majority of the left understands that they aren't winning. Their ideas have rarely won. And if Americans are allowed to engage with their electoral system honestly and opening, they'll never win again. The only way they win is by stealing our tax dollars and using it against us. Using it against us to create the problems that we're solving. Because think about it. You mean to tell me Americans haven't figured out this race issue after 60 years? We're the most innovative population on planet Earth. We're the most motivated population on planet Earth. We are the most productive population on planet Earth. You mean to tell me that we haven't figured this out? In fact, it's gotten worse? No, of course we have figured it out. We're friggin' America. Of course we figured it out. Our enemies tried to make us think that we didn't, and we were nice enough to believe it, but no more. No more. And I want you to today, find out who your senator is and who your congressional rep is. You just Google it. Ask Grok on X. I love Grok. Ask Grok, who's my senator? Who's my representative? And email them and tell them to pass the SAVE Act. Tell them that you demand they pass the SAVE Act, and you will make them pay for it at the ballot box if they don't. Kat, I think that the 23-year-old kid, Nick Shirley, did more to expose fraud from the left than the media did in 20 years. The media. You're right. You're absolutely right. And I'll take some credit for it too. The reason why Nick Shirley could do that and why he could even have his message out there in the first place is because 20 years ago, a guy named Andrew Breitbart launched conservative new media. We had Rush Limbaugh and a couple other talk radio hosts, and that was it. And Andrew Breitbart said the left is dominating online. We need an online presence. That's where the public square is moving. And he gave us Breitbart. Back then it was called the Bigs. They were big government. It was a series of websites, Big Government, Big Hollywood. I think there was Big Immigration. Yeah, I think those are the ones I can remember, but we called them the Bigs. And then they merged into just Breitbart, Breitbart.com following his death. But Andrew Breitbart is who launched me. And launched a lot of the people that you know and love today, people that you tune into every week on Fox News, on News Nation. Katie Pavlich, Katie, that's how I know Katie Pavlich. Katie endorsed my book. Katie's the reason I wrote my book. She inspired me and encouraged me to write it. Katie Pavlich came from the Breitbart era. Katie Pavlich came from the era of the launch of new media. That's us. And we made this a career. We made it a viable career. And then we establish you, the audience, by being the viewers and helping to share this. We on the right established a pathway, an avenue for the Nick Shirleys of the world. And thank God for Nick Shirley. And yeah, you're absolutely right. One kid with an iPhone did what 20 plus years of establishment media reporting couldn't do. And that's how we know the media is corrupt too. Trump is absolutely right that they're the enemy. They are the enemy. He should sue the hell out of them. He should keep suing them. Kash Patel is suing the Atlantic. They should keep suing until they start figuring out how to do the job they're supposed to be doing. They suddenly get curious about government when Trump's in office. Big Government is what opened my eyes, Kat. Yeah, that was a great website. I mean, now it's just Breitbart. They still do great work. You can type my name into Breitbart and see what pops up. You'll see a lot of stuff over the years from the archives popping up from me, Kira Davis. I used to do contract work over there. Back in the day, it was a big deal to get on Breitbart. If you got a story picked up on Breitbart, that was you're launched, right? You're going viral. So I had a few moments over there, and I'm so grateful for all the great work they've done over there. And I deeply miss Andrew Breitbart, and I think about him every day. And I know his family does, but as just a opinion journalist in this field, I think about him every day, and I wonder what he would have to say about all of this stuff that is going on. Look, what we've seen today from SPLC, what we saw from Virginia last night, I just want everyone to know, I know you're dispirited about Virginia. It is dispiriting, but I just want you to know that battle is not over. There are some legal challenges, but the whole battle is not over, my friends. It is not. There are a lot of different pieces that are going to work together here. Okay. And so this is what I want you to do. I want you to call your senator and your Congress critter. All right. And I want you to tell them to pass the SAVE Act. Get off their asses and pass the SAVE Act. Feel free to use strong language if you want. That's important. Call them. Call them with your voice. Call them. Write yourself a script so you learn what to say, and they won't give you a hard time about it. They want to get you off the phone as fast as you want to get off the phone. Trust me. So they're not going to argue with you. Nothing. They're just going to take your name. They're going to ask your name because they're going to need to know you're a constituent. It's their own voter ID. And then just write a script. Tell John Thune, I want him to pass the SAVE Act, or I will make sure that he never holds power in this country again. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to pray. If you have a prayer group, if you have a Bible study group, spend a couple of minutes each week or each month praying, before you start. Make that a regular habit. Pray for this nation. Pray for truth in our electoral system. That's one thing I always pray for. Truth in our electoral system. And then pick a battlefield. Get on it and fight. Get on it and fight, even if it's just you posting the truth to your Facebook once in a while. Pick your battlefield, get on it and fight. We're all going to do it together. We're all going to do this together. So this battle is by far not over. Virginia was a mess. Virginia was a damn mess. But you know what? We still fix it if we have the SAVE Act. We could probably win most of those gerrymandered districts if we had the SAVE Act, to be honest. I think the SAVE Act is going to change everything. So pray for truth and integrity in our electoral system, and pray for the SAVE Act, and pray for our nation and our leaders, of course, as God commands us. Follow us everywhere. Thank you to the chat. I love that you guys are coming in here. You guys have found it. And so we won't broadcast tomorrow, and then Friday's show will be a pre-record. But I'll see you back here live on Monday. The debate is tonight. Looking forward to that, and I'll be on with Katie Pavlich after the debate on News Nation. You can find me on X at Kira Davis, or on Instagram at just Kira Davis, JOST, or find out more about me and the things I do at justkiradavis.com. And if you want a break from the political talk, go to my other podcast, Journey to Christmas Land, where we just review cheesy Hallmark movies. We just do that. And it's really fun. And it's formulaic, and that's what we love. We love the formula. We love breaking down the formula to see, did they stay on task? Did they stay true to the formula? It's a prude podcast. We get a lot of comments about how we don't like kissing before the end of the movie. We don't like people living together. We don't like suggestive talk, and we definitely do not put up with loose fashion or immodest fashion. I'll say that. So it's really fun. You can listen to it literally with your family and have no worry about surprises. So Journey to Christmas Land, you can find that everywhere. All right. Well, thanks for the chat. It was really fun chatting with you guys. We'll see you next week if you're around. Until we meet again, everyone, remember that sunlight is the best disinfectant. So go out there and bring on the sunlight.